When the sun has set on a Friday night, bringing peace into your home, families will gather all around singing Shabbat, Shalom. Everybody sing Shalom, Shalom. Shalom, shalom. A gift from God to put a smile upon your face. He's got the whole world in his hands, so obey his commands and you will know peace. Shalom, shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam, chiri biri biri bim, bam bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shalom, Shabbat, Shalom, Shabbat, Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Well, the high holidays have passed. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, and Simchas Torah, and it was wonderful to celebrate all of those with you. We have now our first Shabbat without a holiday in a while, and that means that we have the very, very first Torah portion, the Torah portion known as Breshit. That's the portion that tells the story of creation. I thought it would be fun to see a kind of depiction of the creation story. Take a look.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was empty, formless, and dark, but the Spirit of God was there. On the first day, God said, "Let there be light." And God saw that the light was good. Then he separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day and the darkness night. On the second day, God said, "Let there be a space to separate the waters of the heavens from the waters of the earth." God called the space sky. On the third day, God said, "Let the waters beneath the sky flow together into one place, so dry ground may appear." God called the dry ground land and the waters seas, and God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let the land sprout with every sort of plant and tree." And God saw that it was good. On the fourth day, God said, "Let lights appear in the sky to separate the day from the night." God made two great lights, the sun for the day and the moon for the night. He also made the stars. God set these lights in the sky to light the earth, and God saw that it was good. On the fifth day, God said, "Let the waters swarm with fish and other life." "Let the skies be filled with birds of every kind." And God saw that it was good. On the sixth day, God said, "Let the earth make every sort of animal." God made all sorts of wild animals, livestock and small animals, each able to have babies of the same kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, to be like us." So God created man in his own image. He formed man from the dust of the ground. He breathed the breath of life into man, and a man became alive. Then he saw that the man needed a helper, so God put man into a deep sleep, and while he slept, God took one of the man's ribs. Then God made a woman from the rib and brought her to the man.
Hi!
Then God blessed them and said, "Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and rule over it. Rule over the fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, and all the animals that scurry along the ground." Then God said, "Look, I have given you every plant throughout the earth, and all the fruit trees for your food, and I have given you every green plant as food for all the animals." Then God looked over all he had made, and he saw that it was very good. So the creation of the heavens and the earth and everything in them was done. So on the seventh day, God rested from all his work, and God blessed the seventh day and said it was holy.
Wasn't that fun? You know, the rabbis wrote a lot of midrashim, a lot of exegeses, we call them, rabbinic legendary tales about the creation story. And one of my favorites depicts Adam on the first day of his life, which was the last day of creation, of course, the sixth day. And what happened was the sun was starting to set. Now, before I go on with this story, I just want to show you a beautiful sunset that I saw in Oxnard just the other day. Let's take a look. Wasn't that sunset gorgeous? Well, anyway, it was that first day of Adam's life, which was the last day of creation, and Adam was about to see the sun go down. And at first he marveled about the beauty and the colors that the sunset created. But then the sun disappeared and it became dark. And Adam became not only frightened, but sad. He thought, maybe I did something that made the beautiful sun which warmed my skin go away. Well, he fell asleep, as a human being would, and when he woke up in the morning, he saw the gorgeous sunrise. Let's take a look at a picture of a sunrise that I took recently in San Diego's Mission Bay. Aren't sunrises and sunsets gorgeous, especially when they're over water? Well, when Adam woke up and saw the sunrise, he felt so much joy and appreciation for something as simple as a sunrise. And this is how the rabbis looked at the creation story at Breshit. They were looking for meaning about our lives. And look, if you were a sociologist and you were to visit different cultures around the world, you would notice that virtually every culture, every religion, every people has some sort of story, some sort of depiction, some would even say myth, on how they imagine the creation of the world to come into being. And in many of those stories, especially from the ancient tribes, Babylonia, other places, you had gods fighting other gods, or gods creating other gods, gods creating people to fight their wars. There are many, many different stories and legends about creation. So what is unique about the Jewish way that we understand the creation of the world? And I think that there are just a few very, very special aspects of the way that we tell the story. The first, which I really appreciate, is the very means by which the world was created, and that is by words. According to the Torah, God says the words, Yehi Or, which means let there be light. And you know what? The world came into being. There was light. And from this, the rabbis conjectured, and they were right to note, that's how powerful words are. Words are so significant and powerful that they can create worlds and they can also destroy worlds. And we all know this. If we look back on our lives, we know that there were times that things were said to us that were so hurtful that in a way they broke us. And yet at other times, things have been said to us that were so loving and beautiful that they elevated us and created joy in our lives. So that's the first aspect of our creation story that I think is really, really special. A second aspect of the story that's really special is that after each day of creation, God says, this is good. And then when the human beings are created, Adam and Eve come along and representing all of humanity, God says, Tov me'od. This is very, very good. Now, what is significant about God perceiving God's own creation as good, and especially humanity? Because there are other traditions that believe that human beings are inherently evil, that they're bad. And in our tradition, we believe that we are inherently good and that the world needs our goodness. There's a wonderful song that was written about this just maybe a couple of decades ago in English and Hebrew, and I'll share it with you right now. Vayar Elohim et kol asher asa, vehine tov me'od. Vayar Elohim et kol asher asa, vehine tov me'od. There was evening, there was morning, there was evening, there was morning, Vayerev, Vayiboker, Tov me'od. There was evening, there was morning, very good. Vayar Elohim et kol asher asa. That means God saw everything that God had made. Vehine tov me'od, and behold, it was beautiful. Vayar Elohim et kol asher asa, vehine tov me'od. There was evening, there was morning, there was evening, there was morning, Vayerev, Vayivoker, Tov me'od. Vayerev, Vayivoker, Tov me'od. There's at least one more aspect of our creation story of Breshit that I find very, very important. And that is something that we tend to take for granted, which is that the world is created in 6 days. And as you know, on the 7th day, God rests. And you could say, that's so strange. If God is omnipotent, if God is omniscient, if God can do anything, why would God need a nap? That's so mortal, it's so human. Well, it's to set the example for us. A lot of people think that Shabbat is just to teach us to rest. Well, it is. It's to teach us that we can be productive and creative, but we also need to rest at times. But even more so, Shabbat was created so that we don't overwork employees. If there were no rules about this, an insensitive employer might require someone to work 7 days a week to never have a break. And Shabbat requires basically what we would later call labor rights. Labor rights are embedded in our creation story. Well, speaking of Shabbat, how about if we go on inside and begin to welcome Shabbat formally by lighting the candles? I'm so glad that Minnie is with us. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Teichem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech, malachei hamlachim hakadosh, baruch hu. I'd like to offer you a blessing on this Shabbat before we light the candles. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. Yaher Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God's light shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God gaze upon you and your loved ones and give you the blessing of shalom, of peace. Ken Yiratzon, may it be God's will. Amen. Let's light. Now let's light the lights for Shabbat. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Shel Shabbat, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, Shel Shabbat. Yom HaShishi v'aychulu hashamayim v'aretz v'chol tzva'am, v'echal Elohim b'yom hashvi'i melachto asher asa, v'yishbot b'yom hashvi mekomoto asher asa, v'yvarech Elohim et yom hashiv v'kadesh oto, ki bo shabbat mikomoto asher bara Elohim lasod. Savrin Rabbanan Rabotai, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho v'avahu v'ratzon hinchilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila l'mikra'e kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, ki banu v'charta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim, V'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen. L'chaim. I know you'll be eating your dinner soon, and so we're going to make motzi in just a second. But before we do, one last point about Breshit, the creation story. Very, very beautifully, the Torah says that we are made B'Tselem Elohim. That means that we're made in God's image. That means that you are made in God's image with the spark of the divine in you. And may you know what a blessing you are, the beauty that is in your soul, that your very existence makes a difference in my life and the life of all who know you. So on this Shabbat, a blessing on your head, and let's make motzi together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Shabbat shalom. Well, I better give Minnie a little bit. Otherwise, it's not really appropriate for a dog to eat challah, but how can I do this to her? Anyway, I wish you all a wonderful and sweet Shabbat from our home to yours. Shabbat shalom, everybody, with love. Shabbat shalom. Vayar Elohim et kol asher asa, v'hinei tov me'od. Vayar Elohim et kol asher asa, v'hinei tov me'od. There was evening, there was morning, there was evening, there was morning, Vayerev, Vayiboker, Tov Me'od.
When the sun has set on a Friday night, bringing peace into your home, families will gather all around sing, yeah, Shabbat, Shalom, everybody sing, Shalom, Shalom.